During the Cold War, the world was blanketed in a web of constant surveillance. The United States and the Soviet Union had eyes everywhere, monitoring practically every square inch of the globe for military shifts. This image captures the result of that surveillance failure. On the morning of May 18, 1974, an 8-kiloton explosion ruptured the silence of the Rajasthan desert, leaving behind this massive crater. The detonation caught the Western world entirely off guard. The CIA, despite its massive intelligence network, missed it. India had quietly joined the small list of the world's nuclear powers. A developing nation had successfully avoided detection by the most sophisticated intelligence agencies on the planet. The established geopolitical order had entirely shifted. Destructive power was no longer the exclusive property of the Cold War superpowers. To understand the origin of this secret, we have to look at the 1960s. The world was split between Washington and Moscow. India, however, was navigating this environment largely on its own. That isolation had consequences. In 1962, a border war with China exposed deep vulnerabilities in India's regional defenses, leaving the nation's military leadership looking for a new deterrent. The threat intensified just 2 years later. China successfully tested its own nuclear weapon, sending a towering mushroom cloud into the sky and signaling a permanent change in regional power. India faced a dilemma. It needed a nuclear deterrent to prevent further territorial losses, but an open weapons program would trigger immediate intervention from the superpowers. Survival required a dual achievement: mastering atomic physics and mastering the art of invisibility. The framework for this ambition was established by physicist Homi Bhabha. He prioritized scientific self-reliance, building the labs and training the personnel necessary to handle atomic energy without foreign oversight. After Bhabha's sudden death in 1966, the mission's leadership passed to Raja Ramanna. He oversaw a small, tight-knit team that operated with total autonomy. By the early 1970s, the team selected the Pokhran test range in Rajasthan for the operation. It was a remote military zone deep within the desert. The extreme isolation of the site was a tactical choice. The heat and the barren terrain provided the physical cover needed to hide construction and drilling from orbital surveillance. Security relied on total isolation. The program was so compartmentalized that the core scientific hub was walled off even from the highest levels of the Indian military. To prevent identification, the scientists involved lived under assumed names, moving between facilities without leaving a paper trail. Movement at the test site happened only at night. Heavy equipment and raw materials were transported and lowered into shafts under total darkness. By day, the team staged the site to look like an inactive outpost. Satellites passing overhead saw standard desert patterns and stationary vehicles, suggesting no unusual activity. Even the code name, Smiling Buddha, was a layer of the disguise, chosen because the detonation date coincided with the Buddhist festival of Buddha Purnima. This commitment to security ensured that the only evidence of the project's progress existed inside the minds of the people building it. On the morning of May 18, 1974, years of secret logistical work reached a single point of execution. A button was pressed, and the subterranean rock fractured. 8 kilotons of kinetic energy ripped through the earth, sending a shockwave through the Rajasthan sands. Those seismic waves traveled far beyond the desert, alerting the world that the global power structure had changed. The news triggered an immediate crisis in the global intelligence community. The CIA had to account for how a nuclear device was built and tested without a single warning. Western nations responded with immediate economic and diplomatic sanctions, aiming to penalize the breach of nuclear norms. The goal of these restrictions was to cut India off from all modern technology and raw materials, effectively freezing its scientific development. The sudden lack of imported components forced local labs to replicate every missing part from scratch. These restrictions resulted in an industrial base that no longer relied on the global supply chain. Navigating that period of isolation demonstrated that the state could survive without external support, shifting the country toward a policy of strict self-reliance. The name Smiling Buddha highlighted a specific paradox. The device was built to prevent the kind of lopsided conventional war seen a decade earlier, using a weapon of war to secure a regional stalemate. Operation Smiling Buddha proved that when a nation resolves to secure its own future, No external pressure and no intelligence agency can halt its ascent.